some people are really overreacting to the Bengals' first-round draft pick. Let's go. What is up, Bengals fam? It's your boy Mike coming back at you. That's Sawbones. All right. I was kind of looking around online, seeing what people were saying about the Bengals. I came across this same tired narrative that I warned you was going to happen before the draft even started. But months before the draft, people were going to go nuts when the Bengals did not select the one specific player that they thought their preferred player. And I'm not going to pick. Look, it's going to seem like I'm picking on one specific guy here, but really what I'm going after is this narrative, and he has a really concise kind of breakdown of what the narrative actually is. If you don't know who he is, I guess I'll plug his channel real quick because I actually do like his stuff. His name is Zach Shomler. He has a channel called Strong Opinion Sports. Got a bunch of subscribers. I'm not trying to chase his cred or anything like that. I happen to come across this thing. He's got the really good kind of pulse on what this narrative actually is. And it's tired. You guys know what it is.
I'm very well aware. I'm going to get a lot of hate and a lot of anger from Cincinnati Bengals fans.
Yep! So he starts off, obviously, by saying he knows he's going to get heat. He knows that the Bengals fans are going to come at him. He's a pro at this. He knows what he's doing. He's actually a very cool dude. I like most of his stuff. In fact, I like a lot of his quarterback breakdowns, which is why I think it's weird that he doesn't seem to understand how much value there is in a wide receiver getting open quickly for a quarterback and how much that protects that quarterback. In fact, analytics says, when you look at analytically, the value of an elite wide receiver who's able to create early separation in his route like Jamar Chase does, that is just as valuable and can be more valuable than one single offensive lineman versus an entire unit. Now, if you're taking it in comparison to the entire unit, it's different. But if you're talking one wide receiver versus one offensive lineman, their value is nearly equal, and the wide receiver can be more valuable depending on the route tree he runs and what kind of offenses they're running in, as far as getting the ball out quickly, because that's how quarterbacks avoid getting hit, getting the ball out quickly.
And I got to say, Jamar Chase is going to make a ton of plays in Cincinnati. He's a stud. He's a great player. And watching Jamar Chase paired up with T. Higgins, it's going to be fun. I have no doubt Jamar Chase is going to score touchdowns, make a lot of big plays. He's going to be a blast to watch in Cincinnati. This will not be an awful pick like when the Bengals drafted John Ross, number 9 overall in the draft a couple years ago, and he was like a total bust. This is not that kind of pick. This is a good player who I feel good about.
Another thing we agree on. Jamar Chase is not John Ross. Anybody who thinks that is ridiculous, and he's right. That was a bad pick. There were obvious flaws and shortcomings to John Ross that the Bengals should have seen before they drafted him.
But I still don't like the pick. As I reflect on the pick and really have time to sit and think about it, my fear is that in 2021...
Right. So here's the thing. The way he starts that statement off by saying, my fear is that winning organizations do not make decisions out of fear. They make decisions out of the desire to be great. What player can we take here that has the potential to make our team great? Not what player can we pick here that has the best potential to ease our fan base's minds about Joe Burrow's knee. That's not what the mandate of the organization is. The mandate of the organization is to get to the playoffs and win Super Bowls. Which player gets you there faster? They think it's Jamar Chase. I agree with them for lots of reasons.
Joe Burrow is going to get hit a ton again and get hurt again and have another season-ending injury.
Okay, so this is a big one, right? My fear is in 2021, Joe Burrow is going to get hit a lot again. He's going to get hurt, a season-ending injury again. First of all, those are two pretty big predictions. In the NFL, every single season, there are 3 or 4 offensive lines that are god-awful, worse than the Bengals even, worse than the Bengals line last year. And it's not very common for quarterbacks to to take season-ending injuries because of those offensive lines. A lot of times it's a freak play, a lot like what Joe Burrow had. But you look at Dallas, who had an elite offensive line just a couple of years ago, right? Lost their offensive line coach. Same group of dudes, but by and large, same group of dudes along that offensive line. All of a sudden, the communication's off. They can't block very well, and they get Dak Prescott hurt, right? So where's the heat for the Cowboys? Where's the heat for the Steelers not adding an offensive line? The Steelers statistically had a worse offensive line last year than the Bengals did, but everybody loves Najee Harris for some reason. They didn't sit there and take. They could have sat there and took a tackle at 22 or wherever they picked, but they didn't.
And I cannot say this enough. You have to protect your young quarterback. It's very important to get your young quarterback protection, especially Joe Burrow, guy who got hurt last year.
Listen to him freaking out. I got hurt last year. I mean, come on, man. Like, it's sensationalization that just puts an exclamation point on my point of you're making this decision out of fear and not based on what the roster looks like now. There's no more Bobby Hart. Mike Jordan probably won't make the roster. Jackson Carman is going to be playing guard. Riley Reif is going to be playing right tackle. Riley Reif gave up 1 sack all of last season. Jonah Williams playing left tackle. He gave up 2 sacks all of last season. Trey Hopkins, who was injured last year, is going to be back playing center. None of this stuff comes up. It's almost like you're evaluating one single pick in an absolute vacuum, and that is silly because you're not looking at what the team already did to make that offensive line better. Not to mention the fact that they brought back one of the best offensive line coaches in the league that has already been with the Cincinnati Bengals, and Frank Pollock. Look, it's no rumor, it's no secret that the stuff that Jim Turner brought into the Cincinnati Bengals organization was toxic from a personality standpoint, from a scheme standpoint, what he was teaching, from a technique standpoint, what he was teaching. Everybody across the board has said that it actually regressed a lot of the guys in that offensive line room because he just isn't a very good offensive line coach. I don't like the guy, and I won't make any bones about it. Jim Turner, not a fan. Frank Pollock, on the other hand, track record of getting the absolute most out of an offensive line, and especially when he has multiple years of work with them, which he does because the Bengals signed him to a multiple-year deal. This is what I'm saying. Nuance is the enemy of outrage, and a lot of guys, I don't think Zach isn't like that. Zach isn't Colin Cowherd. Zach isn't these guys who he's Mike Florio. He's not these guys who want to just say stuff to get you mad. But I'm using him as an example of it. You're cranking out. I get it, man. I'm a content creator too. You got to crank out videos. Put a little more thought into it. I'm embarrassed when I go on and say stuff. I mean, just last week I put out a video where I kept mixing up Jim Turner and Frank Pollock when I was talking about it. The people who watch my channel are knowledgeable enough to understand those mistakes and say, yeah, you were talking about the wrong dude there. But they knew who I was talking about. I was embarrassed by that.
Get the guy some protection. My fear is that like week 7, Joe Burrow is going to get hurt again.
This whole, making decisions out of fear. My quarterback got hurt last year, therefore I have to spend my premium number 5 draft pick on an offensive tackle who, if the Dolphins wouldn't have taken him, may have slid to 15 or so. You know what I mean? So they got the best position player in the draft, the Cincinnati Bengals did. And what these guys are trying to tell you is that simply because the only reason, all of these guys, by the way, all of these pundits, if Joe Burrow had not gotten hurt last year, even with the same offensive line, even taking all the hits that he took, if he had just not gotten hurt last year, all of these guys would be loving Jamar Chase as this pick. All of them. The only reason they have this opinion is because Joe Burrow did get hurt last year, and now they're making decisions out of fear and not out of the desire to build a great offense. And you're also making that decision in a vacuum because at no point in this video does this guy talk about Riley Reif. Does he talk about the potential for Jackson Carman to be just as good as Penei Sewell, which a lot of professional offensive line evaluators in the league hold that opinion, that Jackson Carman's potential is just as high, his ceiling is just as high as Penei Sewell. It's just a matter of if you think one, both, or neither are going to reach that potential in the NFL. The Bengals think Jackson Carman will. In fact, not only the Bengals think that, Paul Alexander, the former offensive line coach, thinks that. Frank Pollock thinks that. Willie Anderson thinks that. Lots of people who know what they're talking about, watching offensive linemen, think Jackson Carman has just as good traits and just barely worse physical measurements than Penei Sewell. So the question I pose to this guy, to people like this, to people like Zach, and Zach, if you watch this, I very highly doubt would watch this, but if you do, hey man, I'm just using you as like a figurehead for this argument. I got nothing against you. I watch your channel all the time. I like it. Here's the question I would pose. Would you rather have Jamar Chase and Jackson Carman on your team, or would you rather have Penei Sewell and Rondale Moore on your team? How confident are you that Penei Sewell's going to have a better career, a markedly better career, than Jackson Carman? Are you so sure that you would bet a Jamar Chase on it? I'm not.
Now, I want to play the devil's advocate to be very fair to Cincinnati. They drafted a tackle in the second round. They drafted a tackle in the fourth round. They drafted a center in the sixth round. Like, they drafted offensive linemen. 3 of the 10 draft picks for the Cincinnati Bengals were offensive linemen.
He plays devil's advocate and tries to say, okay, they drafted a tackle in the second round, a tackle in the fourth, a tackle in the sixth. And he just acts like those are just random dudes. First of all, Jackson Carman had first-round grades from lots of evaluators. The fact that he fell to where he did, to where the Bengals could actually trade back and still get him, plus add that extra fourth-round pick in order to get get Cam Sample with that pick. The fact that they signed Riley Reif, the fact that Trey Hopkins was hurt last year is going to be back healthy this year. And the fact that Quentin Spain is going to be playing his natural position again, which he was at. He came in to a bad situation with Jim Turner and bad offensive line, bad communication, bad scheme, tried to learn the whole thing in about 4 days, and then was plugged in to play out of position at right guard. He's a left guard. He's only ever played left guard, Quentin Spain, and they tried to play him at right guard. There's so much going on, so much turmoil on that offensive line, and he just doesn't take any of it. None of this comes into play. None of it. There's nothing. All it is like some guy in the second round, some guy in the fourth, some guy in the sixth. They drafted offensive linemen, but that's it. That's not playing devil's advocate. Come on, man. Better than that.
But my fear is we're going to look back on this pick. We're going to say, man, in 2021, the Bengals drafted Jamar Chase rather than tackle Penei Sewell. Offensive line. You put up whatever you want on the offensive line. Penei Sewell. My fear is that Joe Burrow gets hurt, has another season-ending injury. Penei Sewell becomes a Hall of Fame left tackle. And we're going to look back on this 2021 draft pick by the Cincinnati Bengals and say, man, Jamar Chase was really good, but passing on Penei Sewell was a terrible, terrible mistake. That's my fear.
Okay, so his main argument here is that he's afraid that the Bengals are going to look back at this pick down the road and say, yeah, we got Jamar Chase and he's a good player, but Penei Sewell but Joe Burrow keeps getting hit and getting hurt. And if only we had drafted Penei Sewell, who in his own hypothetical is now somehow a potential Hall of Fame left tackle, bro. If you're out here predicting, if you even have the words Hall of Fame in your mouth while you're while you're evaluating a college player who's never played a single snap in the NFL, dude, you're already you're out of here, man. You're so far away from what rational evaluations are supposed to look like that it blows the rest of your argument up, dude. Because I could make the argument and say, I can make that same argument and say, what about, hypothetically, 3 years down the road, the Bengals could be looking at and saying, look, Jackson Carman is putting up career numbers really similar to Penei Sewell, and Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. That's much more, by the way, that's much, much, much more likely to happen, what I just said, than what he's saying of Joe Burrow keeps getting hit and injured. Jamar Chase never reaches his full potential because of that. And Penei Sewell is a Hall of Famer. God, come on, man. You know how
for the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll see if I'm right. Like, I'll revisit this. We'll see in like 3 years who was right. And I'm not saying Jamar Chase is a bad pick because he's a great player. But I would have picked Penei Sewell, and I'm really curious to follow the storyline as it develops over this season and over the next couple of years.
This is what I like about this guy, actually, is he doesn't like throw a hot take and then just like stand behind like this was like the scourge of sports punditry. Basically, is guys like Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless and Colin Cowherd. Like Colin Cowherd at least admits when he's wrong, but these guys who just they make the most outrageous like hot take predictions and all this stuff, and they never revisit it or when they're confronted with it, never really fully admit that they're wrong and just make excuses about it. Zach, at least you're admitting that you'll come back, and I'm going to keep track. I'm going to keep you honest on this. I'm gonna look. I'd make a bet. I'd even give you really good odds on it. I'd make you a bet right now that my prediction of the future, that Jackson Carman is going to grade out eventually to be a top tier tackle in this league, along with Penei Sewell. I think they both are, right? And Jamar Chase is going to be a really, really good wide receiver, the kind of wide receiver everyone thinks he is. Plus, Joe Burrow is not going to get killed because the Bengals have done so much that you are not mentioning here to address their offensive line, okay? I already did a video. I'll do another video now that we know who they drafted. But I already did a video showing you, even regardless of who they draft, how much better their offensive line is going to be from a pass blocking situation. I'll link that down. I'll link that down in the bio there. But again, I don't know. I don't know what I just did. I may have just invited. I don't know what kind of fan base Zach has. So I may have just invited the whole Strong Opinion Sports squad over to the channel to mix it up with my 500 subscribers or whatever it is. But look, man, I just wanted to throw this out there. No, nothing. I'm not trying to come at Zach. I'm not trying. He probably won't ever see this anyway. But I'm just trying to say, look, just Aaron Rodgers, relax, you guys. If you got to look at this, the whole picture. It's not just one pick. You cannot make a prediction about what's going to happen with an entire 53-man roster with one selection, one player for the whole team. And this is not how football works, man, unless that one player's quarterback. I will say that. But I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to stop bashing on Zach. Maybe I'll do another one. I like his videos. He's got with these weird takes about Cincinnati sometimes. He actually really likes the city. He's like been there a few times. He likes the place, but he doesn't seem to be able to get his story straight with whether he likes the number 5 pick for the Bengals. He really, really, really likes Jamar Chase, but it seems like he would like him better on a different team for some reason, right? Okay, I'm going to leave it with that. This has been Hoop Daily. Peace.